All right, good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
How's everybody doing? Yeah, let's get some energy going in here. Somebody share something good. Closing tomorrow. Okay, good. And Ken, what do I always say?
Only one?
Just one? Okay, great. There's always more. All right, anybody else got something exciting to share?
I'm borrowing some money.
You can share online too as well. Go ahead.
No, it's nothing big. Tasha did a spin class today. Yay!
You did a spin class? I take it that's a new step? I didn't mean that in any other, and then you're just bashful about it. All right, anybody else? Something exciting to share? That's it? You guys are just ready to be poured into. All right, we got an exciting day planned for you today. We're going to do a little bit of announcements, and then we're going to jump over and hear a little bit about our economy. Anybody know what's going to happen in this world in the next 12 months? Just say no. And yet, you can always control the market by your focus, mindset, and activities. Do people always need a place to live? Yes, always. Are people going to go through life changes and need to change properties? Yes.
Always.
So opportunity could go to somebody else, but it could come to us. So we're going to make sure we grab all the opportunities as we go ahead. Okay, great. Let's hold on. Greg, come on over.
Yeah, right, nice. I like it. Hello, my name is Greg. I handle the marketing for the office. I just want to share, I guess, a quick tool for you guys. So, there's a clicker there. It's hogging the clicker. Hey, who here knows what a QR code is? Raise your hand.
Who doesn't know?
Who does not know? Awesome. Who actively uses it in their business? Okay, it's only a couple people. All right, so you guys know, so when you experience a QR code, it was really convenient, right? You scan it and either, get access to a website or a lead capture form, some quick information. So I want to make sure, some of you have asked me about, hey, Greg, I want to create a QR code. So I want to share like something simple where you could do it yourself. And of course, it's free. So for those who know, this website is called QR Code Generator. So it's a free platform where you just type in a website address and it'll create the QR code for you. And you download it and you import it to whatever marketing material you're using, whether it's a business card, flyer, open house sign, etc. So in terms of like use case, I put a few here, just something simple. So you could have in your business card, a quick way for people to access your information, like your phone number or your website. You could put it on your signs and flyers. So I know many of you host open houses and you want to capture people's information. So you put a lead capture form, you put your QR code that goes to a lead capture form. That lead capture form can be created on something that's also free, which is Google Forms, right? So that you have a Google form ready, they type in their information, name, number, email address, and you get an alert, you have all their contact information. Who here thinks that's something they're capable of doing? Really easy, really free, really simple. Once you got that information, of course, you can enter them into command, and of course, you can put them into a smart plan. Right, and now you can nurture someone who attended an open house or someone you met at a networking event or etc. Right? Does that make sense to everyone? Awesome. Giving you an early heads up. So April 30th, we're gonna have Shredding Hunger, which is a shredding event where we donate, it's a food drive actually, where people who donate food get their paper shredded for free. The food and or money gets donated to East Fort Bend Human Needs Ministry. So that's gonna be Saturday, April 30th. We're gonna have branded flyers distributed to everybody. So within maybe the next week or so we can kind of get it to you as early as possible. A lot of our leadership are gonna help create some classes. So Nimesh, Verna, myself, we're gonna help create classes so you can leverage the event to nurture your leads, reach out to the community. As a real estate agent, many of you know, giving back to the community and being involved in the community is a great way to grow your business. You can ask any ALC member, they'll tell you the same, right? So we want to give you an early heads up for that. Next, if you want to meet with me to talk about marketing, email me or use this link. We could talk about anything from automation, design, logo, website, etc. So that's all I have for you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good stuff.
Why does he never get in trouble when he hogs the screen time?
I know he's gotten a lot better at his game, Greg, hasn't he? In his presentation. That's awesome.
Okay.
Okay, it'll come back up. So I'm going to answer your question. In 12 months, we are still going to be the best office in Fort Bend County. I'm just going to throw that out there. So, and the reason I say that is number one, we have the best people. I'm just saying. And then number two, your leadership is committed to doing what it takes to be the best, to stay the best, to serve you guys. We meet every single day as a staff to talk about how we're serving our agents and how we can up our game. So just so that you guys know, we're still going to be the best. And I want to go over numbers to show how we had our best February ever in a couple of categories. Can I see the next slide, pretty please? Oh, thank you. Okay, so February was a record month in a couple of areas, right? What's happening in the market right now? We're seeing it nationally, we're seeing it here. The inventory is still being squeezed. What do I mean by that? The amount of demand, buyers wanting to buy homes, has outpaced the number of homes on the market for quite a while. So the number of listings on the market has been shrinking, right? And so we're seeing still records being broken on listings sold, but we're seeing a need for more listings coming on the market. So it's just an interesting dynamic, and it's not unique to our market. We're seeing this nationally. But for our office numbers, I did want to highlight, we had the best February ever in 7 different categories. So that was closed units, right?
Best February ever. Good job. That's awesome.
Right? Also closed volume. And I want to highlight something. Do you see the percentages here? Closed units was up 1.9% and closed volume was up 31.6%. What can you tell from looking at that spread? The price of the homes that are being sold today are more than the price of the homes that our agents were selling in the past, right? We're seeing the price outpacing the units. So we don't want to hide behind that, right? Because if someday prices start to go down, we want to still have the units behind it so that we're making money, right? This is how you look at your business too. Listings taken, I want to highlight, are down 10% over last year. And I did want to pull the local market numbers just to compare, like, what does that look like in Fort Bend? Is it different for our office, or is that all over Fort Bend? And we had talked about this in our ALC meeting yesterday. Over HAR, listings taken compared to last February is actually up 16.2%. So who's out there getting the listings that our people should be getting? Somebody's getting them. In Fort Bend, it was up 9.5%. So those are our units. The volume is outpacing the units. Like we were mentioning, the prices are increasing. Houston Southwest, yep, we were down a little bit. We are up since January, right? We saw an increase in January from January to February of 16.6% units. So we're going in the right direction. We still need more listings. And we've had contests in our productivity coaching program. We have other masterminding events. So connect with Verna, Nimesh, follow the KWSW25.com website. Get plugged in. If you are looking for strategies to get new listings, heck, we had a fantastic ALC meeting yesterday where the top members in our office were masterminding together. What are some unique strategies that you're using to get new listings? And I heard some ideas that I had never heard before, and I thought it was pretty awesome. And guess what? Those meetings are open for anyone to attend. And we only had a couple of people there.
It's kind of like brilliance and herding cats all in the same meeting.
So, but it was pretty awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, smart kitties.
You just say I was the brilliant one.
So, but it was pretty awesome. One other number I really wanted to highlight is closed GCI, because that number really shows the money that's going into our agents' pocket. It blew away any other February we'd ever seen. We had 1.9 million in closed GCI, that's gross commission income. The next highest was 1.5 million. So that's an additional $400,000 we're seeing in the pockets of our agents.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Anything else you want to highlight?
No, so two things I want you to point out is we took the least amount of listings taken since 2016, and we sold more listings than ever before. So what's that tell you? We don't have any stinking listings in this office. And as a business owner, think of it as a car dealership. I'm driving on the lot going, we're going to have a record year. And there's kind of like a car dealership, and there's nothing on the lot. You go, well, the guy down the lot next door doesn't have any either. Well, they're going somewhere, right? We got to control the listings in this. Control the listings, control the game. We got to get to our people first, because guess who else is getting to our clients? Open Door, by the way, because Open Door, their market share is still increasing. That just means we're not getting in front of our clients and having truthful conversations. Because that's a whole nother thing we can unveil on the Open Door.
Well,
That is not maximizing your client's financial well-being. Take care of them.
We still have a lot of ready and willing buyers. I mean, that's one thing we talked about at the ALC meeting yesterday. It's not just buyers that are not ready or willing. Like, they are willing, they are ready. We're still seeing the multiple offer situations. So having some more listings on the market and sometimes some unique conversations and objection handling can help with some of those decisions.
Yep. Anybody write an offer this week that didn't get accepted? Anybody on like their 30th offer and they still haven't got it accepted? Yeah, like Akil said, I wrote 60 offers and you got how many accepted? 2. Unless we go and get the listing. And get the listing before it goes on the market and connect the buyers to that listing. Just a side note. And yes, that's legal, right, Liz? Okay, great. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Good numbers. And she already asked Marilyn. It's not moving. We're jumping right into it. Okay, we're gonna jump right into our meeting. Cookie, Virginia, come on up first. Come on up first. Do you guys all know Cookie? She just started in the business how long ago? Come on, you got to get in front of the camera.
Yeah, we have people on.
You gotta.
Cool, what, 25 years?
25 years ago.
25 years.
I'm an antique.
No, she's awesome. So, and Virginia's smart enough to know is if she brings Cookie, then I'll say yes, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's all about leverage
Okay.
as well.
It's all about who you know.
Yeah, so set this up for our meeting today. Who do we have? Why do we need to pay attention to it? We love the value to bring in. And I'm just gonna give the floor to you guys and then you can introduce our guest today.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay, thank y'all so much for having us. First of all, Chad, Verna, appreciate it. We are Cookie Mangine and Virginia Rogers with WFG Title. We are going to be your neighbor. We're going to be in the other Kensington building, Suite 100, hopefully moving in April. So we're very excited. We have locations all over the Houston area, the Woodlands, Magnolia, Champions, Katy, Memorial, Sugarland, and one opening in Post Oak. So wherever you work, we are here to service you. We have brought in pretty much everyone, all the powers that be in our company, starting with our executive chairman and founder of WFG, who flew in from Oregon to be here today. He knows how huge this opportunity was to be in front of y'all, and he does 20 economic forecast speeches throughout the country all year. And so as the economy is changing, as things like the war in Ukraine goes on, he is kept abreast of, you know, how that can affect our economy and interest rates and the, you know, housing market. So we brought him today. Really excited to hear from him. But real quick, I know title companies are infamous for asking for your business, taking your business, and then of course providing service, which we're all expected to provide. But then what is your title company doing to help you grow your business, to help you better your marketing, your branding? That is where WFG will step in. So we, after closing, will help keep your name top of mind and follow up for you after your clients close. You might have a follow-up closing or a follow-up marketing campaign already set in place, but a lot of agents don't, and we're here to help with that. We also have Stacy Kimberlane. She'll wave her hand. She's our marketing and technology director. She is here we're excited. We spoke with Nikki. We're going to get her on the calendar, but she'll meet with y'all one-on-one. She and I will, ranging on various aspects of your digital business, from a Google business page to from your Google presence, to Facebook, to Instagram, to YouTube, to Canva, whatever it is you may need help with. Just by being a partner of WFG, that's value we want to bring to you to thank you for trusting us with your business. So we would love an opportunity to earn your business. I have my team here. My Sugarland branch manager is Nancy Cepeda. She'll wave. We have Berta Quiros next to her, escrow officer. Stephanie Abear, our other escrow officer. We are there, y'all. They're a wealth of knowledge. Last week, our branch opened a cash file on a Monday, got title commitment within 2 hours, closed the deal the next day. It was, of course, no red flags came up on title, and it was a cash deal. But if you ever are in need of someone who will work their butts off to get something done for you, this is the team, I assure you. So we have Monique and Jason Bassick, who run our Texas state operation, Greg Harris, who is our Texas sales manager, and of course, Cookie is our Houston sales manager, and I get to work with her every day. It is the joy, literally the joy of my life. So thank y'all so much. The man who made it all happen is Pat Stone. He developed WFG. I'm gonna let him come up, share his vision. Yes. And he will astound you. The knowledge in his brain is never ending.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm really pleased to be here. You guys have no energy. I don't know what's wrong with you. Yeah? I'm really impressed with the enthusiasm here. Is this a clicker for the?
Chad has the clicker.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
You bet.
So,
And stay right behind the table, that way they couldn't walk on.
okay. So I enjoy doing these presentations. I'll be honest with you, circumstances have been a little bit more stable in prior presentations, and my outlook has been a little bit more certain in prior presentations. Very interesting times, obviously. But I think the underlying fundamentals are pretty good, and we'll go over that today in some detail. Where exactly we are, I didn't put Ukraine on this slide, in part because there's a lot of speculation about what Ukraine is going to do to the economy, and I'll go over some of that. But we'll talk about pandemic, inflation, interest rates, the economy, real estate, where we're heading, and actually I'm going to have some good news for you. Believe it or not, there is some good things out here. The supply chains efficiencies will increase. Use of automation. You probably noticed this already. There's been a dramatic increase in the amount of automation used by everybody in the US. You're going to see some benefits from that. And then productivity is increasing. Talk a little bit about the economy real quickly in Texas. I'm going to skip quite a few slides, and I'll highlight the ones I think you should really pay attention to. Pandemic caused changes. We've all seen it. How dramatic are they and how long lasting are they? It's really interesting to me to try to figure out, is this permanent? The desire to own a home, is that permanent? You've seen the benefits of it. How long is it going to last? Candidly, I think it's going to last quite a while. And the reason for that is that we've experienced a real renewal of focus on the quality of life. There are a few people in here that are probably close to my age. I don't think there's anybody that's my age, but that's all right. But if you go back to when I first turned to be an adult, the most primary consideration as a young adult was buying a home. It was your first step to financial independence was buying a home. I knew nobody, I didn't know anybody that didn't try to buy a home immediately as soon as they could. Over the last 40 years, that's dissipated. That has gone down to the point where young people go, oh yeah, maybe, I want to be flexible, I want to be able to move around. Guess what's happened? The pandemic has renewed the sense or the value and quality of life, and people are more focused on buying a home. How real is that change in the quality of life? Look at this slide. This is share of US population retired. And it was on a trend line, and then all of a sudden with the pandemic, it went up. If you want to look at another thing, take a look at this, the monthly quits rate. You hear all the time about people quitting jobs. Actually, people quit jobs all the time, but it went up about 0.7%, which is a pretty dramatic increase. People said, okay, you know what? Quality of life is important. I'm going to look for a place I want to work. I am going to buy a home I can live in, and I have a quality of life. So this is really a profound change. You've seen the benefit of it. Some of the downside, we've gone in debt at an extremely high level. We'll talk more about that. And we've seen some savings. Personal savings rate went through the roof. It's come back down, but almost everybody out there now, middle class and up, has more money to spend than they've ever had in their lifetime. Consequently, they're looking at buying homes. Wages gone up, and this is so crazy. We are starting to see the service sector come back to work. We're starting to see the service sector return. That will take some pressure off of inflation. And I'll show you why inflation's gone up dramatically. And then cash and short-term investments by companies. American companies have more money right now than they have ever had. We are loaded. We have the ability to invest and grow in an unlimited manner. Now, we got issues like inflation, the pandemic, Ukraine war, a few things holding us back, right? But the American corporations are better suited right now than they have ever been. Wealth effect, take a look at this. Financial assets have gone up dramatically. Personal consumption has gone up with it. So we've seen some real benefits from the pandemic in certain ways, right? And we've also seen the ability of Americans to have capital to dispose of. Got to really touch on something real quickly. People worry about the government and worry about government, how do I want to put this? Government support, unemployment and all that impacting job growth and all that. Just real quickly, take a look at this. The states that kept federal benefits versus the state that cut federal benefits in 2021, there's a 35% gap in the difference between the states that kept benefits and states that didn't in terms of unemployment, and actually a 4% change in unemployment. So in other words, the underlying driver of people to quit jobs and look for a higher quality of life was real. It wasn't artificial, and it wasn't caused by unemployment or government support. It was actually fundamental change in the way people thought about things. Inflation, hey, if you're not scared about inflation right now, you're not paying attention. Inflation has gotten very, very serious. I'll show you why it went up, but the Ukraine war has really exacerbated the problem. It's created a lot of uncertainty. I have a lot of good friends that are economists, and talking to a few of them yesterday and this morning, and there is a great difference of opinion about what the impact of the Ukraine war will be. Real quickly, it is going to cause actual gas and oil prices to go up because Russia supplied 40% of the gas for Europe, and that's been cut off, right? So we're going to have a little bit of inflationary pressure there. Ukraine exported a tremendous amount of wheat and corn. So you're going to have a little bit of inflation pressure there. Judging it is really difficult, and B of A has gotten really negative. Goldman Sachs is sort of in the middle. Some other people say it's not going to make a difference. It will exacerbate the inflation. Inflation will stay with us a little bit longer than we originally expected, and we'll talk more about that in a second. The one thing that does need some attention here is the amount of expenditures, personal consumption that's occurred. You can see here that the personal consumption expenditure index has gone up dramatically. You take out food and energy, not quite so much, but we got an inflationary problem, don't we? Anybody hear about it? It's kind of like a nonstop subject, and people are really worried about it. And you can see here, look at this, annualized change in consumer prices, goods versus services. I want to really make an important point about this. What caused the inflation is we had money and we couldn't go out and spend it, so we got online and bought things. There is a FedEx truck in my driveway every morning. I am stunned at how much stuff that has been bought. And take a look at this. This is consumer spending. Take a really hard look at this, because this is what caused the inflationary cycle. Look at the amount of money spent on goods versus services because of the pandemic. Pandemic happened, services stopped because you couldn't go out, you couldn't go to restaurants, you couldn't do things. So what did you do? You got online and bought things, right? And look at the consumption of goods versus services. So you buy these goods, they're from overseas, so they clog up the supply chain, which exacerbates the problem, right? So you're spending all the money on goods, it takes longer to get them, they cost more money. It's called inflation. Services, not so much. So as we return to an economy where we can go out and enjoy services, that will take some of the pressure off on the inflation. And you can see here, consumer prices, durable goods versus wages. Goods went up real fast, wages didn't, but wages are going up. And I'll show you again in a minute why so much. Trade deficit, we're running a big trade deficit. We'll continue to run a big trade deficit. I think it was like 86 or 87 billion last month. We're still importing a tremendous amount of goods. We'll continue to do so. This is a funny slide. It really means nothing other than nobody knows what's going on. This is the index of Federal Reserve policymakers' uncertainty over the inflation. Yeah, these are the guys that are making the decisions, right? Nobody knows, folks. It is really, really difficult and nobody really knows what's going on. Here you see the inflation, consumer price index. Look back to the 80s. I mean, that was pretty bad, wasn't it? How many people were in real estate business in the 80s? All right, well, 2 of us, 3 of us. My first job as a manager in the title business, the first company I ran, mortgage rates were 15%. Mortgage rates were 15%. It was insane. I was the president of the company. I did the deliveries. I did the customer service. I welcomed people in the door. I mean, it was nuts. I mean, it was really, really difficult. We're going back there? No, we're not going to go back there, but inflation does scare people and you can see what's going on there. So Goldman Sachs did some real interesting projections. They took a look at what caused the inflation. This will resonate with you. If you look at this right here, you see that a lot of it is being driven by new and used cars. You've seen that, right? And the price of cars has gone up dramatically. So has rental, video equipment, sports and recreation vehicles. All these sort of things really exacerbated, drove the inflation up. This slide was done prior to Ukraine, and you can see that Goldman Sachs thought it was going to drop off fairly dramatically this year. And looking at the projections, they were showing the red on the bottom is the prior slide, and you can see they were showing that inflation is going to come down fairly quickly. I'll tell you right now, in my opinion, inflation will come down this year, but it won't come down as fast as we had hoped or as dramatically as we had hoped. We're probably going to get down under 3% by the end of the year. We'll probably get down to 2.5% next year. It'll probably be 2024 before we get to 2%. It's going to take a while, right? Because it's become inbred. And if you see product prices going up and you're running a business, what do? Oh, I'll raise my prices, right? So we've seen inflation spread, basically copycat inflation, if you will. So supply chain, this was prior to Ukraine. They were saying that it's going to drop like a rock unless we had supply chain constraints. Ukraine has exacerbated this. Again, it's going to drive oil prices up. It's going to cause some prices in food, causing a lot of uncertainty, isn't it? A lot of anxiety with people not knowing where it's going to go. So B of A came out today and got very negative. And they got very negative because they don't see any way that Vladimir Putin can get out of this. There's no way. I mean, he didn't get what he wanted. He was going to take over in 2 days, right? And basically annex Ukraine. That didn't happen. How does he back up without losing face? So B of A is negative because they don't see any way out of it. I'm not quite as negative because I don't think the impact on the US is going to be that dramatic. It's going to be hell in Europe. That's a technical term for not very good. It's going to be really bad in Europe. It is. They're going to have a real problem over there. It'll affect us. It'll impact us, but nowhere near to the degree of the Europe. So again, inflationary projections. These were prior to Ukraine. It's going to come down. It's coming down already. But not as fast as we'd hoped. I'm going to skip that one. One thing I want to point out, has anybody heard the term stagflation? Yeah, right. You hear people talking about stagflation, worried about stagflation. There is a huge difference between where we are now and where we were in the 80s. Yes, M2, which is M2 is a term that is used to include all financial instruments, cash, credit cards, everything. M2 right now is back to where it was in the early 80s. So that means there's a tremendous amount of money out there. And most economists will tell you if you got a lot of money, too much money out there, that causes inflation because you're chasing the same amount of goods or fewer goods, right? So people are worried about M2 causing stagflation because we have so much money out there. You hear it all the time. What is different, and look in this slide, and this shows you what's different. You go back to the great inflation of the early 80s, and you see that you had tremendous consumer price increase, but look at the GDP per person, the economic impact on a per person basis. And look at during the Great Moderation, look at the post-financial crisis. All these, you had inflation and you didn't have a corresponding growth in the economy. Look at where we are on the COVID. You've got inflation, but the economy is actually doing very well, isn't it? The economy has grown on a per person basis. What I'm trying to say in a cumbersome manner is stagflation isn't going to happen. We're not going to have stagflation. We have a growing economy. I lived and worked through stagflation, and it was hell on wheels, wasn't it? It was really bad because there was no economic growth. The only way you could make money in the early 80s was to raise your prices. The only way you could give your employees a raise was to raise your prices. That was called stagflation because there was no economic growth. There was no globalization. There was no world economy that worked together. So the only way you did anything, the only way you could actually increase anything was to raise your prices. That was stagflation. This is not stagflation. We're not going to see stagflation. So interest rates, the Fed has spent a lot of money. They were spending 120 billion a month, 80 billion buying treasury bills, 40 billion buying mortgage-backed securities, creating stimulus to keep the economy going during the pandemic. And they ran up, well, look at their balance sheet. They ran up a tremendous amount of acquisitions and increased their balance sheet a huge amount. So what's going to happen now? The Fed started tapering their buying. Their buying of treasury bills and mortgage-backed securities is over this month. They're done, okay? And they're going to start raising rates. They're going to raise rates 25 basis points on March 16th. Count on it. They're probably going to raise rates another 25 basis points, probably at least 5 more times. I'm thinking 5 to 7 times. I don't see it going 50 basis point, and I don't see it going on for a long time because I don't think it's going to be necessary. But what does scare me and what really creates an interesting point of conversation among a lot of economists is what's the Fed going to do with this balance sheet? How are they going to get rid of this balance sheet? They're not in the business of having all this money on a balance sheet. So they're going to have to unwind their balance sheet. Are they going to do it the second half of the year? A lot of economists are concerned that the Fed's going to start selling treasury bills and mortgage-backed securities the second half of the year. That would not be good, would it? So we'll see what happens. I think they will unwind their balance sheet, but I think they'll be careful. You can see they were careful after the Great Recession. They acquired the assets, but didn't spin them off right away. So let's hope that's the case. Federal net debt, look at this. This is the total amount of debt. We're basically at 100% of our annualized economy in federal debt. The last time we were here was World War II. That's a lot of federal debt, folks. We have a lot of federal debt. And you can see this, federal debt has skyrocketed. They're showing 123%. This is all government debt all in. A lot of debt out there. Why do I make a big point out of this? If the Fed raises rates a lot, does that impact the federal debt? And if you got a $23 trillion worth of government debt and you raise interest rates 1 percentage of interest, how much money is that? Well, that's about 230 billion, right? See what happens if the Fed raises rates a lot. So there is going to be this push on the Fed. And I say the Fed's going to click rates up 5 times to 7 times. That'll be it, because otherwise they're going to put the government in a really bad place, aren't they? The government's not going to be able to afford interest rates going up a lot. But we have a little bit of an issue here, so it's going to be interesting to watch. So the cost of paying investors back so what's happened here? How did we get all that debt? Because interest rates went down, and the cost of maintaining that debt was like what it was in 1970 when we had a lot less debt. So it was a little bit like going into a candy store and having a lot of money. You know, you can eat as much as you want. Federal government is very, very, very much in debt. Now, do we have to pay it off? No, but what we have to do is probably keep it where it is and let the economy grow. So as a percentage of the economy, it's less, right? And as the economy grows, the government gets more income, revenue coming in. So I'm not making a political statement here, but I'm certainly in favor of anybody that's in favor of keeping the federal debt where it is and not letting it go up anymore. Is there a housing bubble? How many people in here are worried about a housing bubble? Anybody worried about a housing bubble? No, good, I like you guys. All right. Get that question in a lot of markets because of the price appreciation. And what I show them is that we're not anywhere near where we were prior to the Great Recession in the late 2007, 2008, 2009. Not anywhere near. Look at this slide. You're looking at borrower risk and product risk. And product risk, we're talking about subprime mortgages, right? We're talking about, did you guys ever hear about stated income loans? I'm sorry. I had a major interest in a mortgage company. In fact, we had 110 JVs with Keller Williams on Metro City Mortgage. I was the second largest shareholder of Metro City Mortgage. I used to get on the phone with Gary every month and talk about all our JVs. And We sold that company in April of '07. And one of the reasons was if you started looking at the product risk, and look at this, I mean, the product risk is subprime mortgages, stated loans, stated income loans, absolute insane behavior, folks, insane behavior. And borrower risk. I mean, look at the borrower. Now look where we are today in product and borrower risk. There is very little risk in the outstanding mortgages, very, very little. This is mortgage credit availability. Now, this is sort of misleading because at the peak there, when it was loosening up, it was about 1/3 of what it was in 2007. Now with the pandemic, it's tightened up again. And if you look at this slide, this kind of sums it all up for you. This is the breakdown of mortgage origination by credit score. And go back and look at, look at the left side of this. This is run up to the Great Recession. About half the mortgages made were made to people with under 700 FICO scores. Today, 2/3 of all mortgages are to people with over 760 FICO scores. We do not have a problem in the mortgage and real estate industry with bad credit, bad product, or credit risk. We don't. There is no housing bubble. There's going to be no crash. People that own homes are capable of paying the debt. I mean, we are in really solid shape in the real estate industry. The economy, real quick, we actually 6.9% in the fourth quarter, says 7%. Good fourth quarter. How did the growth occur in 2021 versus 2020? You can see we started to have some comeback in the service sector. We had durable goods. That's the people going out and buying on the internet. Durable goods went up pretty big. But still, the economy still isn't back to where it would have been if we hadn't had the pandemic, but it is growing okay, and we're doing fine with the pandemic. And unemployment rate is back down to almost where it was, or almost down to where it was pre-pandemic. And you can see cumulative change in non-farm payrolls is doing really well. Now, this is an interesting slide, and this really goes to the underlying problem we have. I heard an economist, or I heard a politician complain the other day about the economy, saying, we have too much government support of unemployed people because we have way more job openings than we have unemployed people. And you see that on this slide, but guess what? Look at 2018 and 2019. 2018 and 2019, we had way more job openings than we have unemployed people. We have underlying pressure on wages because of that, regardless of the pandemic. We've had a issue in this country with income inequality for quite a while. We really have. Whether you like it or not, it is a fact, and we have this problem. We have a decline in the rate of growth of our population. We've restricted immigration the last few years, and consequently, we're going to have significant wage growth. And we're going to have that wage growth because we have a lot of we have more jobs available than we have unemployed people. So it's going to be interesting to see how this works. Hopefully we get this one figured out. You can see new filings for jobless benefits have gone down as we've recovered. Employed as a percentage of population, 25 to 54 is the major age group for employment, and you can see that there. This is sort of interesting, and it actually tells a story about the pandemic. The people really impacted here have been women 20 to 54 years because of childcare. No place to take care of the kids, right? So that's been the one segment of our economy that's probably been hit the worst. Because of the lack of childcare, women working in the economy have had a hard time. They have no place to have their kids taken care of. So that's really, now work from home has helped, but you can see here, women 20 to 54, that's the biggest impact in the wage. And look at this one also, why unemployed workers aren't searching urgently. Spouses employed, care responsibility, financial conditions, actual unemployment insurance payments is a minor factor in that. I mentioned earlier, corporations are doing fine. Corporations are doing more than fine. American companies have so much money, it is insane. And if we didn't have the Ukraine crisis, I'd be up here telling you, Katie, bar the door because we're going to go to the moon with the economy. I'm dead serious. We had a tremendous amount of disposable money in American corporations. Here's an interesting fact that most people don't know. 40% of everything manufactured in the world is manufactured by an American corporation, and 50% of that is manufactured overseas. American companies run the global economy, and American companies are positioned to continue to grow and invest, barring the pandemic, the uncertainty in Ukraine. So profits have been phenomenal in American corporations. I mentioned earlier the population growth rate. Look at this. Population growth rate for major economies, the US, China, European Union, Japan. We are not growing very fast anymore population-wise. And we've curtailed immigration. I'm not advocating just randomly opening the borders, but we need to invest in making this possible because we built this country on immigration, and our birth rate is such now that if we don't allow immigration to proceed in a logical and managed manner, we're going to have a problem. But also look at Japan and China. China's going downhill pretty fast because they had the single child policy for years and years and years. They're going to have, I forget what the number was. I think it was 400 million people over 65 by 2025 or something. I mean, it's just crazy. So they've got, China's done being a threat to the U.S. It is, I'm dead serious. Yeah, it is just about done being a threat to the U.S. The growth rate in China is really low right now, and it's not going to go up very fast. They don't have people. They've got a lot of issues. When I was younger, we worried about Japan, right? Japan was going to take over the world, right? Well, we just went through the same issue with China, and it's just about over. Talking about globalization, take a look at this slide, folks. Global economy, this is through 2018. When the pandemic started, the global economy was approximately $120 trillion. Half of that occurred since the year 2000. Half of that occurred since the year 2000. Look how fast the global economy has grown. And I don't want to get into a political argument, anybody, but the whole idea that we're gonna stop globalization, hello, it's already over, right? The global economy has already occurred. You know, our economy is about 20 trillion, so we're the largest economy by far, but the global economy has doubled in size in the last 20 years. So, I mean, so are we interested and impacted by it? Very, very, very much. Let's talk about real estate. Sorry, I had to put this in here. And this has been really interesting. And again, this highlights what the pandemic has done for home ownership and the quality of life. And if you look at real estate, the makeup of real estate, and I apologize, this slide is slightly out of date because the amount of homes with negative equities right now is less than 1% because of appreciation, right? I mean, really, and then home ownership is around 64%. You see single family rentals. Somebody mentioned Open Door earlier. I have not invested in any of those companies. And anybody here familiar with the corporate relocation business? Yeah? Has corporate relocation ever made a profit? So it's going to be interesting once appreciation stops. I mean, Zillow shut theirs down. It's going to quit being a competitor of yours. You know, the iBuyers are going to go. iBuyers will be a non-factor in 3 years. Just one man's opinion. That's just not a sustainable business. All right, this is not a promotion of Zillow, or excuse me, Redfin. I know Glenn very well, but I'm not promoting Redfin here. But I do want to show you that they do an interesting thing. They have a chart that shows the amount of activity online to judge interest in real estate. So you can see that 2021 was up dramatically over 2020, and 2022 is starting up over 2020. Now, it was highlighted here earlier that the issue is inventory, isn't it? It's in listings, but the demand is there. You can still see there are more people searching for a home now online than there was last year at this time. So the demand is there, and it's going to continue. This is Fannie Mae, new and existing home sales. They think existing home sales will be down slightly this year. New home sales will be up. Now, I, like a lot of people, were really excited about the tremendous growth in permits and starts. Unfortunately, we haven't seen any completions yet of new homes. Hopefully that happens pretty soon, but the lack of supplies and so forth has been pretty challenging. If I may, I'm going to go forward for a second. I hate the Case-Shiller Index, one man's opinion. This was developed by a guy named Alan Weiss, who's a friend of mine. It used to be called the Case-Shiller-Weiss Index, then they sold it to S&P and they changed the name to Case-Shiller. I was on a panel with Robert Shiller, who's a very, very bright man. He can't even spell real estate. I mean, he's so smart that if you're in an elevator with him, you start talking to him, your brains melt and roll out your ears. I mean, he's a brilliant guy. I mean, he's just as smart as can be, but he doesn't understand real estate. The Case gentleman did, but he's gone now. This is a piece of crap. Let me rephrase that. I don't like this index. And I'm going to show you why. Let me go back to the prior slide. So this is median sales price of existing homes by area. And you look at this and you go, wait a minute, they're not all moving up at the same rate, aren't they? Well, let me tell you what it is. So US as a whole, median sales price of existing homes for the United States as a whole last year was 15.8% increase. Not 20 like Case-Shiller, but 15.8. And this is a much better barometer of where we're at. But look at it real hard. It really varies by area. The Northeast only went up 6.3% last year. The Northeast only went up 6.3%. The Midwest went up 10%. The West went up 8.4%. The South went up 20%. So when people say, well, yeah, house prices went up 20% last year, no, they didn't. The median price went up 15.8%, and depending where you are, if you're in the Northeast, they went up 6.3%. Now, you folks are in a very good place. Texas is a very strong economy. You have people moving here, but you have an underlying very strong economy that will continue. So enough of that. Booming demand is reduced, so you know the supply of homes is down. This is just, you can have these slides and take a look at it. And then at the end of last year, we were 19 days on the market. Purchase mortgage originations, 1.61 trillion last year, all-time record. This year, they're going to be a little bit down, but not much. My gut right now is that existing home sales will be down about 7.5% to 8% this year. About 7.5% to 8%. New home sales will be up, depending on if they can ever finish a home. You know? And you look at this. So this one shows you exactly what I'm talking about. Permits are up, starts are up, and completions are flat. And I have some of my daughter's significant others are in this industry, and it's maddening right now. I mean, homes are taking forever to build, partly because the cost of the goods, lumber and so forth, but also partly because of wage and availability of workers. So here's a number for you to think about. From 2010 to 2020, we underbuilt 1.6 million homes. I mean, we underbuilt demand by 1.6 million homes. Household formation created a lot of people looking for a place to live. Between multifamily construction and single family construction, we've underserved the demand tremendously. Single family, we were short 1.6 million homes. We get this fixed, so we're actually finishing homes in a reasonable amount of time, 90 to 120 days, kind of like they used to be. It'll take 3 to 5 years to get balance back between supply and demand. Supply driven by new construction, demand driven by household formation. We have the second biggest bubble in population coming into first-time buyer age we've had in the history of this country. First one was boomers, now millennials. And it's a tremendous amount of people coming into first-time buyer age and no homes to buy. So demand is going to be with us 3 to 5 years minimum. If we catch up on home building, I don't even think we'll catch up in 5 years. So you're in the right industry for as far as I can see. There's going to be demand, problem is supply. Supply will increase as we get some of the material issues worked out so we can finish homes. So this shows all units in single family and how it's coming back up. Look where it was prior to the Great Recession, and we're slowly recovering. And this is permits by state. This is the end of the year versus the end. This is for 2021 versus 2020. I mean, the amount of permits went through the roof, up 20% across the board. Well, you've heard about lumber prices, up, down, up, down, up, down. And we actually, unfortunately, enacted a tariff, and excuse me. So how many people here have heard of Smoot-Hawley? All right. All right, Smoot Hawley. Smoot Hawley were legislators back in during the Great Depression. And the Smoot Hawley tariff is credited by economists with creating the Great Depression. And what happened is we were having a recession, the global economy slowed down, and a couple of idiots in Washington named Smoot and Hawley decided we should level tariffs against 32 countries. And that put us over the edge into the Great Depression. Yet we still come up with tariffs have never worked, folks. There is no evidence. You can't find me an economist that will tell you or tell me that tariffs have ever worked. And yet we implement them for political because it makes people feel good and it gets you votes, right? We got to get rid of the tariff on lumber. That's just idiotic. But Smoot Hawley never worked. I'm sorry. Shelter inflation. This is a Goldman Sachs graph, and what they do is they monitor about 4 or 5 different sources of rental rates, and rental rates went up 5.5%. Why did that happen, do you think? Was there all these people looking for a home or looking for an apartment that weren't looking for an apartment prior to the pandemic? Or do you think maybe this had a little bit to do with inflation? Hey, let's climb on board and raise our rates because rates are going up. Yeah, I think we're going to see when construction gets back on track, if we see new homes being built, I think we're going to see this drop also. So we'll see what happens. So where are we heading real quickly? Supply chain efficiencies. We're going to benefit from this, believe it or not. We're going to benefit from it because we're going to get more efficient in our supply chains. We're going to become more automated and we're going to become more productive. Supply chain efficiency. So in December, this is a Goldman Sachs graph. In December, they had it at 10. The supply chain congestion was at 10. It's at 7 now. It's already improved fairly dramatically just in a couple of months. Now, you don't hear about that from the press, but it has. It's actually improved. The other thing that's sort of interesting, this is a Drewry World Container Index cost. That's it's still above 9,000, but it's starting to come down. This is container ships waiting in Los Angeles. It peaked at 110. It's down to 69 now. So it is starting to unbuckle a little bit. The thing that excites me is last year we invested $25 billion in technology around supply chain. $25 billion in technology around improving the supply chain. The supply chain will improve. And you see that we've seen drop in, I don't know why I put this in here, hot rolled, I mean, everybody cares about hot rolled cold steel prices. It came down a little bit. Automation, this is an interesting slide because this shows you the impact of the pandemic, working at home and what's happened. It's going to be of their interest. You see that looking in 17, 18, 19, and then the COVID era, the share of digitized products and services in dark blue and the share of customer interactions that are digital. This was done in July of 2020, about 4 months after the pandemic started. And look at the increase in the amount of digitized products and services and the amount of customer interactions that were digital. Look how quickly that happened. So I heard a couple comments prior to my speaking about technology. Get yourself really up to speed on how you can use technology. We have a marketing technology director that'll help you use Google and other sources of technology. You could create a much bigger footprint using technology. And the American consumer now uses technology. I mean, we buy online. By 2025, 30% of all retail sales will be online. So Uncle Pat's not investing in any shopping centers. I'm going to tell you, I own a lot of warehouses. I'm going to own more warehouses because e-commerce will be 30% of all retail by 2025. The American consumer is using the computer. Your effectiveness, your ability to sell, your ability to service your clients will be really enhanced if you use technology and learn how to use technology. So really encourage it. Productivity, I'll go through this very quick. Productivity has gone up because of this. And you can see here, this shows information services, finance and real estate, and professional business services, how much productivity has increased since the pandemic. It really kind of surprised me, but we've seen a tremendous increase in productivity. And you see here, information technology is off the charts. Professional services have gone up. We're seeing Technology and productivity really benefit, and supply chains benefit. When this pandemic is over, we are going to have a much more efficient global economy and the ability to use technology to affect it. And this is just real quickly, look at this, fewer in-person sales staff, things that increase productivity, reduction in commuting time, 600 million hours per month, reduction in commuting time because of the pandemic and using online work from home. Home offices save businesses 900 billion, IT equipment 300 billion. I mean, it's just crazy what happened here. Talk about the outlook real quick, and this is kind of fun. This is a survey done in December. 3 times as many individuals with 5 million net worth own 1 to 5 million in real estate compared to 2019. Wow. 77% of Americans reported they would rather invest in home ownership than spend it on a vacation. You got to be kidding me. Okay? 82% of unmarried Americans surveyed, 85% of all females would rather invest in a home than pay for a big expensive wedding. 41% of college graduates are likely to select owning a home as a more important goal than paying off student debt. Wow. 42% of Americans identifying as Hispanic say owning a home is their most important financial goal. 45% of Gen Z and millennials between 18 to 44 say owning a home is an important financial goal. This is a profound change in the way we look at real estate. So there's been some real benefits to this. Consumer debt real quickly. Great recession, consumer debt, household debt as a percentage of disposable income got up to almost 118%. That's insane. American consumer has been pretty smart about managing their debt compared to the government, right? I mean, we've really got ourselves in a good situation here. And then debt by product type, a lot of worry about auto loans and student loans, and they do impact people 18 to 29 fairly severely, less so 30 to 39, and then pretty much a non-factor over that. So we do have some impact from student loans and auto loans. I don't think it's going to hold us up too much. And then home equity, or equity in homes gone from 14 trillion in 2009 to about 23 trillion now. So it's really benefited Americans' personal wealth. Fannie Mae, they're very optimistic about the resale market going all the way through 23. Refis have slowed down fairly dramatically. Our business, real straight up, our business, sales are down 7% year to date from last year. Activity level's the same, but again, it's the inventory thing, right? Just getting things done. Refis have dropped like a rock. We've refied a lot of business. Resales will be good for the next couple of years. And then this is National Home Builder, and home building is up fairly dramatically, and they see it continuing to be really good for the next few years. And I think it's going to be very good. Goldman Sachs GDP projections, and they were saying about 3.8 for the full year this year. Bank of America came out this morning and they're down about 3.2. They got negative because of Ukraine. Okay, we're talking about 3% growth in our economy and we're negative. For a lot of years, that was okay, wasn't it? So folks, things are going to be okay. Even with the Ukraine situation, you're in the right industry. There's plenty of money out there. Unless something really dramatically wrong happens, it's going to be a good year despite all of this, despite all that uncertainty out there. And this is just more GDP stuff. Let's talk about Texas. And so I've got some slides here courtesy of Texas A&M, and said the right thing for somebody. So you know, this shows building permits, and you can see Austin Round Rock has gone through the roof. San Antonio is up. Houston is doing better than San Antonio. Not quite to where you were before the Great Recession, but getting back to. Now this is slightly dated, but it shows good trends. This is home sales in San Antonio. Okay, one thing I want to really stress here, I got to ask, I don't know if it was last night or we were in San Antonio or yesterday we were in Austin. I got asked by somebody, why am I optimistic about Texas, or am I optimistic about Texas? We opened 11 offices in Texas in the last 6 months. And the reason for that is because we are optimistic about Texas. You guys are in the right place, and I mean that. You are in the right place. What do I look at that gives me assurance that this real estate market is not just a flash in the pan or trendy, that it actually has substance? One thing I look at in every market is how fast the different price tiers go up. If you look at a market like I live near Lake Oswego, Oregon, the top tier has gone like this, the middle tier has gone like this, and the lower tier has gone like that. Is that sustainable? No, it's not. It's basically a short-term rich people buying homes, right? There are some markets where the low tier has gone up and the middle tier and the high tier are flat. Is that okay? Yeah, that's okay, but it's not going to last very long because that's a surge in job or some economic growth. It's not good. Basically a lot of people that have money are not moving or not buying, right? Texas is one of the few markets that I can find in which every major city, each price tier, high, middle, and low, are all going up at basically the same rate. And folks, that is hugely encouraging. That means that not only do you have people with money moving here, that means that people are here that are earning a living are stepping up. And that also means that you have economic growth because people with lower income are able to buy our homes, right? You have the perfect match economically in Texas, and you're in the right place. You can see it here. This is the San Antonio New Braunfels. You can see all the indexes are moving up. Here's Austin home sales. Look at Austin. The tiers are going up, even though Austin has really sort of gotten hot. But they're all going up, aren't they? They're not just the high end going up. And then here's Houston, and look at the Houston. Yeah, they're all going up. Yeah, we've had the low tier go up more than the middle tier and the high tier, but they're all moving up in concert. You are in the right market, folks. This is a very good, sustainable market for real estate. Single family housing construction permits. The blue line is the United States, the red line is Texas. That's encouraging, isn't it? You guys are in the right place. Now we're seeing the downturn there of the pandemic, but the trend line continued. And then major metro single family housing construction permits broken down. And you can have a copy of all these to look at, but Texas is really in the right place. Major market existing homes, and you guys know this better than I do, there's no inventory. Total housing sales, again, very, very good. Residential lending and construction, yeah, this is mixed but good. Employment growth rate. The black line is Houston. You can see what happened when oil went bad, right? A real funny, quick story. So I owned 110 oil wells in Kansas, and when I bought them back in 1999, performed it at $20 a barrel. It's a good deal. And the check started coming in, and I said, "Oh, hey, hon, you used to work, and then we got married, and this is always kind of a stressful thing. So why don't you just take the oil checks? They're yours, right?" So in 2004, when oil went up over, what was it, $100 in 2004, the checks coming in every month used to be the size I dreamed about making in a year. One night at dinner, I said, honey, those oil, they're mine. They're yours. They're yours. So everything was fine until 2015, right? One night I'm working in my office, my wife comes in and she says, honey, these oil checks are getting a lot smaller. I said, well, that's because the price of oil went down. She looks at me and she says, I don't care, you need to make up the difference. It works pretty well. I got a very healthy marriage. I'm in charge of making money, my wife's in charge of spending it. So major metro existing homes on market, this is same everywhere, but really pronounced here in Texas. And again, you get these slides and can take a look at them, but things are really encouraging to me. And look at this. This is days on market. This is the end of the year. Days on market and days to close. And Houston was at 66, which is the just slightly behind San Antonio. But I got to tell you, compared to the rest of the country, this isn't bad. This isn't bad. I mean, 27 days on the market, 39 days to close. So you guys are really in a good place. I'm very, very optimistic about where it's going. Per capita personal income in Texas, you're behind the U.S. About 93% of the U.S. per capita income is, but you know what that is stimulating? Major corporations are moving to Texas. You got a labor force looking for work. You've got a very healthy economy, and companies are moving here because of that. And I think that'll continue. I think it's going to be a good trend. This is unemployment. Houston is a little higher, and again, that's energy related. I think over 50% of all jobs in Houston are either related to or once removed from petrochemical industry in one form or another. That's coming back, and I got to tell you, this situation in Ukraine is probably going to benefit Texas. And in a lot of ways, it's going to benefit you. Oil prices are going to go up. I checked before we started here this morning. I think they were at $111 a barrel, 118. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be good for you guys, good for your economy. You're going to have a lot of home buyers, looking for a home. This is just a list of companies in Texas. You can take a look at that. Population growth, just steady. So things are good here. Over the year change in private industry. This is sort of interesting. This is Dallas, but this shows what's happened. And the reason I show you this is because take a look at this slide. This is over the year change, net change in total non-farm employment of the 12 largest metropolitan areas. And look who ranks 5th, Houston, Texas. You are in the right place, folks. This is really, really good. Here's my economic outlook, and this is a guess. I'm going to just tell you honestly, it's a guess right now because of all the uncertainty. 21, 5.7, 22, 4%. I'm a little bit more optimistic, and I'm basing that on the fact that companies have so much money. The U.S. has moved far enough away from the Ukraine situation that we're going to end up supplying Europe with a lot of things. Oil from Texas. I mean, this is going to be, it's going to benefit us a lot of this. So I'm thinking 4% this year. Labor market, we're almost back to pre-pandemic. Fed will start tapering in December. They did that. And then they'll announce their first increase of March 16th. I think 5 to 7 at the most. I just don't see it going up more than that. Then COVID, this is up and down. Biggest risk, everybody's worried about there being too much money. I'm not yet. If we could get there, if the Fed raises rates, how do I want to put this? If the Fed wasn't totally aligned with the government, the Fed would raise rates too much and we'd have a problem because there's so much debt out there, the expense would go up. I don't think that'll happen. The Ukraine situation, I hope there's a way out of it. I really hope there's a way out of it fairly soon so we can put that behind us. 90% of the impact of the Ukraine situation on us right now is the news and the anxiety that it causes, right? Because you don't know what's going to happen. You just don't know. And of course, the media, who's trying to get your clicks or eyeballs, hey, watch out, watch out, watch out. So it's crazy. Hope that abates somewhat so we get a little bit more rational. Key risk and challenges, obviously, any more variations of the pandemic. Investors' optimism is high. It's starting to get a little concerned, but I still think it's very, very good. Inflation could overshoot, but thanks to aggressive policies, I think the Fed will keep that from getting out of hand. Low rates, mass leverage, and debt issuance. Mortgage rates will go up. We're going to probably see 3.75 to 4 this year, pretty sure. 4 to 4.5 next year, and then 4.5 more in 2024. Residential real estate will stay strong. Price appreciation will return to 3 to 5% in about 3 to 5 years. Okay, it's going to take a while, but we'll get back to a more rational price appreciation. The demand will exceed supply for as far as I can see in the future. So, questions? Sir. New construction is the key. I mean, that is it. If we can get homes being built in 90 to 120 days, the desire's there, the builders are ready. I've got a lot of friends that are big construction companies. They want to go. They've got to be able to get supplies, and then they've got to get dependable labor sources, right? As I showed you, permits are up dramatically, starts are up. There's a home I go by fairly frequently. It's about a mile from my house. I drive by it. It's been under construction now for 9 months, and it's a medium-priced home. That's crazy, isn't it? Of course, the longer it's under construction, the more the price goes up too, right? So the key here is new construction. We've got to get home building back on track. The desire's there, the ability's there. We get that going. 3 to 5 years, we start getting some balance, probably 7 years before we're back to a normal real estate. Folks, we have not been in a normal real estate market in 13 or 14 years. Well, actually longer than that, probably about 20 years because it started going up fast. But we get back to supply demand balance will be okay, but it'll be 3 to 5 years before we start seeing it.
All right. All right, we will make those slides active for you. I would encourage you to pick out 2 or 3 of those. There was a couple of those that I thought were really, really powerful that you can use those. Put those in your presentations so you can help me. Remember what we tell you to be. You're the economist of choice, right? We give you different variations. You only felt strongly about 2 slides, right? You came out passionate. Name one of his strong points. I'll give you a free agent bill. Raise your hand. Name one of his strong ones. Oh yeah, there you go. There you go. Okay. And the other one, tariffs. You don't like tariffs. I think I heard that, right? Okay. Awesome. Okay. Our lunch sponsor today. I'm jumping ahead of you, AMCAP and Reliant. You'll have to forgive me.
Come on up.
Okay, great. We got a lunch sponsor. You got to give us a little bit. Thank you so much for being here. He'll wrap us up and then we'll eat some lunch right here. Come to that way they can see you online. They're still hanging on in there.
Hey guys, how you doing? This is a great turnout. I was here a while back, but it was storming and nasty. This is the biggest turnout I've seen yet, so that's impressive. My name is Daniel. I own Grand Slime Home Inspections. I'm also the inspector for them. We're actually looking for somebody right now, but it's hard to find people at the moment. We offer all your home inspection needs for your clients and you, pre-sale, pre-listing. Our add-on service is those where we really separate ourselves from everybody else. We have septic, pool, spa, water well, water testing, all in-house, as well as termite and WDI inspections. So we do all those in-house. You don't have to call multiple people out. We do it all. You get the report, same day guaranteed. All of our reports are computer generated. When you call, you're going to speak to me or my wife when your clients call. We're here to help you as well as the agent. So if you're ever looking at a home, showing a home, and have a question, send me a text. Take a picture of it. Send me a text. I'll try and answer, some questions you have. A client wants to know if it's a saltwater pool, take a picture of the equipment. I can usually tell you by a picture. So I'm here to help you guys. Our reports are written not to scare people. I don't want to scare people away. That's not what we're here to do. We're here to work as the same team, right? Make sure the clients get the best home for the bang for their buck, basically. We're just giving them a once over. Let them know what's wrong with the home, if there's anything, and what needs to be fixed if there is. All of our inspections have thermal imaging, sprinkler systems included, as well as zip level foundation check included with our prices. We don't charge extra for them. Those are freebies we throw in. I don't want to hold y'all any longer than you have to.
All right.
With lunch, guys, there's 4 vegetarian meals. They're the ones in the box in the far corner. So for those of you that are vegetarian.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Daniel.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. All right. Thank you, guys. Hope you got some great value out of that. I did as well. So we will be back on. I know some of it's spring break next week, but we will have a team meeting. I will not be running it. So it's this guy named Namesh. So show up. If it's not any good, tell him. If it is good, tell him as well. But join us next week. Have a great day, guys. Thank you so much.